This video and all of its contents, including any opinions expressed by the narrator, are strictly for entertainment purposes only and are not intended in any way as a substitute for professional services or consultation from a licensed therapist, doctor, attorney, or any other professional. Each person must make their own life decisions, and those decisions belong to them. Welcome back to Find Your Alpha. I'm back this week with another gripping story that will keep you thinking long after it's over. This one is titled, Stunned Wife Thought She Was Getting Away with Her Harmless Affair, but Her Husband Knew Everything. Let's dive right into it. She begins by saying, I'm completely devastated and need advice on how to best handle my situation. It's almost amusing how often guilty people start their stories like this, looking for sympathy before revealing what they did wrong. She says, earlier today I learned my husband is getting remarried. I still refer to him as my husband even though we divorced 2 years ago. We were together for 4 years and have a 3-year-old daughter. I got pregnant right after we started dating and moved in together when we were 21. Now that line right there, I got pregnant right after we started dating, is a huge red flag. Anytime that happens, you might want to double-check things, maybe even with a DNA test. She goes on to explain that they were both working at the time, but she stopped working before their daughter was born. Money was tight, but they managed mostly with help from their parents. Her husband took on extra shifts, doing everything he could to provide, while she stayed home to care for their baby. It was a simple, traditional setup, the kind of arrangement that used to be the foundation of many happy families. But she admits that after some time she began to feel isolated, trapped, and without much hope for excitement or growth. She insists she's not complaining, but if you're writing a post about it, you are. She says that loneliness led her to make a careless and stupid decision. She started spending more and more time on social media. At first, it was harmless, scrolling, liking, commenting, but soon it became her escape, her connection to a world that looked more exciting than her own. And as it always goes, the grass seemed greener on the other side. She recalls her high school days when she worked at a large amusement park and met a guy named Anthony. They hit it off as friends, 2 introverted homebodies who loved gaming and hanging out. They started dating casually, spending time together, playing video games, cuddling, kissing. She insists it was innocent, that they never took things too far, but that's always open to interpretation. She says they avoided going all the way due to religious beliefs, wanting to save themselves for marriage. But often in those situations, people end up doing everything else and convincing themselves it doesn't count. She admits those summers were some of the most exhilarating times of her life, though she never saw Anthony as long-term material. Maybe he didn't meet her ideal standards. Who knows? After she left the amusement park, they stayed in touch through social media. But once she met her future husband, things with Anthony stopped. He was heartbroken, and they went their separate ways, at least for the time being. She eventually got pregnant, moved in with her boyfriend, had the baby, and later got married on their daughter's 2nd birthday. She says that was the happiest day of her life. She emphasizes that her husband is indeed the biological father, verified by DNA tests done due to their daughter's medical issues at birth. So, all good there. Life went on, and she became a stay-at-home mom. Her days were filled with caring for her child and scrolling through social media. And then, out of nowhere, she noticed Anthony liked one of her posts, then another and another. Nostalgia kicked in. She sent him a message just to see how he was doing. Before long, they were messaging regularly, first occasionally, then every day, then multiple times a day. She tells herself it was innocent because they didn't cross any real line. But the truth is, it had already crossed one. Her husband didn't know. That secrecy is the line. As fate would have it, Anthony started visiting her area once a month for work or to see relatives. At first, she met him with her daughter present, claiming it was just 2 old friends catching up. Eventually, she began meeting him alone, lying to her husband and family about where she was going. Then one day, she met Anthony at his hotel. She says she felt anxious but drawn to him in a way she couldn't resist. That day, they reignited their old connection and she crossed the point of no return. She tries to justify it by saying it wasn't hurting anyone, that she was still being a loving wife and mother. But that's what cheaters often say to ease their guilt. She even claims that during this time she was more affectionate toward her husband than ever. That's what some call love bombing, trying to mask guilt through overcompensation. But her husband wasn't blind. He noticed something was off. She says the affair went on for several months before everything came crashing down. One evening, she came home to find her husband sitting in the living room with both their parents. They all had grim expressions. He asked her where she'd been, and before she could answer, he told her to think carefully, because he already knew. He had proof. He'd been tracking her, collecting chat logs, timestamps, and even photos and videos. There she was, walking into hotels hand in hand with Anthony. She had nowhere to hide. She confessed everything, hoping for forgiveness, but he was done. He told her to leave immediately, without their daughter. She assumed he'd cool off and come around in a few days, but he didn't. He refused to speak with her, filed for divorce, and cut ties completely. It turns out he'd been working with a lawyer for weeks, preparing for this confrontation. He wasn't impulsive. He was methodical. She paints him as the one who broke up the family, but in reality, it was her choices that did that. She admits she spiraled after the divorce, losing over 30 pounds and developing health issues likely from stress. 2 years later, she's still struggling emotionally, saying she works part-time at a restaurant while balancing shared custody. She claims she'd rather be home with her daughter, but that's ironic. When she was home, she wasn't content either. Her daughter, she says, is doing fine, loved by everyone, and adjusting as best as a child can. She mentions that her ex-husband has since moved on. He has a new girlfriend, and that clearly bothers her. She admits feeling jealous, even though she was the one who betrayed him. His sister recently told her that he and the new girlfriend got engaged after less than a year of dating. The ex-wife believes deep down that he still loves her, and she wants to stop the wedding. She even considers going to his workplace to talk to him, which is a terrible idea. That's not love. That's obsession. She's trying to reclaim something she destroyed. When she shared this story online, she got plenty of responses. One guy told her to stay away, that she'd done enough damage and that her husband would never take her back. Another person, a woman, sarcastically suggested she pursue Anthony since she ruined her marriage for him. A third commenter told her to move on and accept that her ex's new relationship is none of her business. The only thing she should care about is whether his new partner is a good influence on their daughter. That's solid advice. A few weeks later, she posted an update. She thanked everyone for their comments, even the harsh ones, because they gave her perspective. She said she met with her faith counselor for guidance. The counselor listened and told her the truth she didn't want to hear. She needed to let go. Her marriage was over, and for her own good and her daughter's, she had to move on. The counselor told her that it didn't matter if her husband's new girlfriend wasn't pure. What mattered was that she hadn't betrayed him. That hit hard, but it was true. No matter what, her husband would never see her the same way again. The counselor advised her to focus on being the best mother she could be and to find someone new, someone she could build trust with from the start. The woman says she's accepted that advice. She's joined groups at her church, started participating in faith-based communities, and is trying to rebuild her life. She even hopes to meet someone new, someone within her faith, who will accept her for who she is now. It's ironic, though. She married outside her faith, cheated with someone from within her faith, and now wants to find another man of faith to start over with. Life has a way of twisting itself into strange circles. In the end, the moral of this story is clear. Cheating isn't just physical. The moment you start hiding messages, meetings, or emotional attachments from your partner, you're already betraying them. Once that trust is broken, it can never truly be restored. You can try to rebuild, but it will never be what it once was. And if you're ever in the husband's position, take a page from his book. Don't react in anger. Don't make a scene. Stay calm, gather your evidence, and make a plan. When the time comes, act with clarity and confidence, not rage. That's exactly what he did. He kept his dignity, exposed the truth, and walked away. For her, this story is a painful lesson. For others, it's a warning. Relationships require honesty, patience, and loyalty. When you betray that, even in small ways, the consequences can be enormous. A few messages online turned into coffee dates, which turned into hotel visits, which turned into the end of a marriage and a broken family. One harmless affair, as she called it, cost her everything: her home, her husband, and her peace of mind. So to anyone listening, remember this: temptation always starts small. It's not worth it. No matter how lonely you feel, no matter how exciting something new might seem, risking everything you love for a fleeting thrill never ends well. The husband in this story did what was right. He didn't lash out, he didn't beg, and he didn't try to fix what couldn't be fixed. He walked away with strength, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions. And that, in the end, is how you find your alpha.